Hey guys, welcome to episode 2 of the newly refreshed JamJarGill podcast. This episode is one which I've pulled from the archives because I've actually been working with this lady recently and she is incredible. Her name is Sarah Root and she is a hormone-informed nutritionist and health coach. She came into her own nutrition journey through her fertility journey. Honestly, she is one of the most knowledgeable people I've ever met about food and its effect on your hormones. So I really hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed putting it together for you. And please go and check her out. You can find all the links below to her stuff. But I just think she has the ability to help so many women I know out with their hormones and balancing out their systems. And as I say, she's just incredibly knowledgeable. She's really helped me with my own gut health and hormone journey, and that's an ongoing process, so I couldn't recommend her highly enough. So I really hope you enjoyed this episode, and in order to listen to the whole thing, please do subscribe on my Substack, which costs less than a cup of coffee a month and really helps to support me as I create this beautiful content for you. Okay, all the best. I'll let you crack on with the episode. Enjoy. Hello everyone and welcome to the JamJarGill podcast. I am Jill of JamJarGill.com. I have 3 parts to my brand. I am an eco-influencer over at JamJarGill.com, which is the oldest part of my brand, where I try and use my platforms across all social media and my website to promote conscious consumerism and grassroots eco, in terms of small incremental changes which everyone can make within whatever budget in order to just be a bit more conscious of how they spend the money in terms of environmental impact. Then I have this, which is my absolute passion project, which is my holistic health podcast, which is really exciting. I have these amazing conversations with people in the natural health space, just with the intention of informing, a bit of entertaining, and empowering people to be their own health advocate and to consider their health in a more natural way. And then the final part of my brand is creative business services. So everything I've learned through developing the other parts of my brand, I then offer out to small businesses to help them with their business and help with their content creation. So please do give me a shout if anything of that resonates with you. If you want to collaborate in any way, I'm always open for a conversation, and I'll put all my details below. Today's guest is Sarah Root, and she is a certified health and nutrition coach supporting women to optimize their hormones and thrive on their fertility journeys. She uses the power of food and supplements and lifestyle to help women feel their best and understand their own bodies. She is a mum to Freya, who is age 4, and she lives in Bedfordshire. And we met, I can't actually remember how we met now. Did we meet?
I were a networking event. I think someone, so we connected that way, yeah.
Oh, yeah, lovely. Well, welcome, Sarah. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Sarah and I had a chat a couple of weeks ago, and I just instantly thought, you're my kind of person. And brought her into my folds of my work. So, she's absolutely lovely and very much saw the world in similar ways, didn't we? When we were talking.
Yeah, exactly. I love it.
If you could just start by giving us a very basic bio in your own words, sort of where you're from, where you currently live, how did you end up there, who do you live with, and what do you do?
Yeah, of course. So I was born in Essex, so that's kind of where I grew up for the first 20 odd years of my life. Met my partner Sam at university, and then we moved to Bedfordshire. Actually Hertfordshire to start with, and then eventually moved over to Bedfordshire. So we've been together for like 16 years maybe. And then we have Freya, who's our daughter, who's 4. I actually so my background is started off in retail, then moved into HR, worked in HR for sort of 12, 15 years. And I used to work for a lovely company called Hotel Chocolat and headed up part of their HR team there. And I loved the company and loved my team, but knew that that kind of wasn't my calling. I've done quite a lot of studying over the years, my health coaching, nutritional therapy, and various other things along the way. And the opportunity to take redundancy came up at Hotel Chocolat last year. So decided to take the leap and go all in on my business. I've been doing my business alongside Hotel Chocolat for a few years, but being a mum, working nearly full time, it was just I could never make it fully work. So took the leap last year, and then I now specialise in kind of female hormonal health and specifically fertility. So a lot of my clients are fertility clients, but I don't work exclusively with that. So I'll often have a lot of people that will come to me with maybe that want to get pregnant in the future, or just a bit fed up with some of their hormonal symptoms and want some support. So that's kind of my general niche that I'm working with at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something which I've just gone through so much learning over the last few years about hormones and how they are affected by so many things.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm interested as well. Obviously, you end up sort of niching down and specialising in the fertility space, I think after your own journey. But I mean, would you deal with like teenage hormones? Would you deal with postpartum hormones and like perimenopause?
So yes, I'd say teenage is probably not my area of speciality. I think it's quite different. So I probably wouldn't go to teenage, but I would definitely go postpartum, because that's all part of the journey, you know, like I work with clients to help them fall pregnant, when they are pregnant, and then to stay pregnant, and then like the fourth trimester, and then also like the perimenopause. And most of my clients are probably 38, 39, 40. So they're generally at like over the 35 age bracket. And some may have already had children before and are struggling to fall pregnant again. Some it could be their first. But yes, and to be honest, the big thing I'm passionate about is women understanding their own bodies and connecting back to how they're feeling. Your body and your cycle is constantly giving you signs of what's going on, and we just have to learn to listen. And then my role is then to guide you and support you and give you tools to be able to then help improve that for whatever that is. So yeah, so
could you adapt your diet throughout the month based on your cycle?
Oh, totally. Absolutely. Everything. Exercise, diet, like, you know, we shouldn't feel the same throughout our whole cycle, but we shouldn't have extremes. So we shouldn't be having these like, and a lot of women actually, not necessarily fertility clients that I've worked with, is because they have these horrible like second half of their cycle where their moods are really low. It's affecting their relationships, with their partner, with their kids, you know, mental health, you know, energy levels, everything. So, and sometimes that's just because we try and do everything the same every single day of our cycle. And that is just not how we're made.
It's in with the structure which we're living within.
Yeah. We're not men.
Again, which, you know, I'm learning over and over again. Industrialization, patriarchy, you know, and this isn't about, I want to be clear, this isn't about male bashing at all. You know, I am, but by the same token, I'm not the kind of feminist who blames, you know, says that men don't have their own problems. They very much do.
Yeah.
But it is simply fact that the 9 to 5, Monday to Friday working day, and that the understanding is that everyone will operate the same way throughout the most life robots. It is based on the male cycle, which I believe is either 24 or 48 hours.
Yeah. They have the like same pulse hormone constantly throughout, like nothing really, whereas we're like this.
Yeah, exactly. And I come back to this concept time and time again because it always blows my mind ever since I learned it in this women's empowerment yoga class, of viewing your cycle like the seasons is one of the most helpful things to do. Spring, summer, autumn, winter. See it in that energy strategy is something which, you know, I say it almost every episode, but I really wish we were taught that in school. And not just us, but I wish the boys were taught that, because I think that's half the battle. You know, I don't want to live in a world where it's us versus them. I want to live in a world where we have an understanding of each other and each other's challenges.
Yeah.
And I just think that, I mean, I know I'm talking 30 years ago, probably I was in high school or something scary. Maybe not 30, maybe more. Let's say it's 20. Anyway, but like sex education in terms of how we were taught in school, I remember having some basic biology stuff happening, which I don't know how much we paid attention to. I know that our form teacher wouldn't refuse point blank, put his foot down that he wasn't going to teach sex education for moral reasons. So then we got our head of year in to teach everyone, who was this older lady who was very hard to relate to. And she delivered it in this like very militant kind of is that. And then I remember also having one of the standard like sponsored by tampon situations where we were all gathered in and all the girls were separated out into one room, all the boys were separated out into another room. The boys were all given condoms and whatever, and the girls were given tampons and crack on. That's it. And you just think, there's so much missing in that.
Yeah.
There's, no one talks about the psychology of sex with kids. And I'm not saying it's appropriate to teach very young kids that. It's probably not. But when you've got raging hormones as teenagers, surely it would be logical and right to talk about things. And I hope it is the case nowadays.
Yeah, I think it's changing.
Discussions around permission, but also around sexuality and also around that it's okay to enjoy sex, but to do it in a sensible, mindful way, rather than, to me, it's fed the narrative of, I mean, all the mixed messages that women get versus the mixed messages that men get. And it adds into the problem, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then in addition to that, then there's no discussion over hormones. No.
I
didn't really understand things until probably my 30s around hormones.
Yeah. I think it's probably not until something goes wrong, or a lot of women in my world want to get pregnant. They'll have been on the contraceptive pill for 10, 15 plus years, come off of it, and then they've been put on the pill normally a lot of the time for irregular periods or painful periods, or it could be lots of different reasons, and then the pill is usually like a plaster. And then they come off of it.
Effectively, for people who don't know, what it's doing is it's tricking your body into thinking it's pregnant all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And it shuts off your hormones, basically. It's all synthetic hormones. So obviously there's lots of different variations of different pills and that you can go on. And actually for some, that's not to say that no one should ever go on it, because maybe there are occasions when it is right, and it's absolutely personal choice. But we're often not educated on...
Well, it's the mindfulness piece again, which I always come back to. And I don't know, have you watched the documentary on the pill revolution?
No, I haven't actually, no.
Oh, it's fascinating. But the point that she makes is that, again, the way the NHS has been set up is the statistic which they're measuring is unwanted pregnancies, which is a very important statistic. But they'll tick that box and go, we're successful here. The UK has one of the lowest rates of unwanted pregnancies in the world or whatever. So we've succeeded. Meanwhile, everyone before having children gets put on microgynon, and everyone postpartum, generally the suggestion is that you should go on a progesterone-based pill or a progesterone-based contraceptive, which could be the implant, the injection, the coil. But no one's testing anyone's baseline of hormones before they make it. No one's treating anyone as an individual. No one's understanding that every different person reacts differently to that combination of hormones. And actually, it's pretty darn important to know what your base level is before you even get...
Yeah, I know. And I get that as well when people are going through like fertility treatment, they'll have their hormones monitored. But obviously, you have to inject quite a lot when you're going through any kind of artificial treatment. I don't actually know what your baseline hormones are because you're always testing them when you're having something injected into you. So I've got clients at the moment who we're now kind of almost, they've gone through IVF and it hasn't worked. And now we're going back to the beginning and doing all the testing and kind of figuring out where they're at without having anything kind of injected or pills.
I have friends who've been through IVF as well. And I know that again, what is happening, in order to release all those eggs, you're getting a medically induced menopause. So in the case that after IVF, like how much of a reset is that? And like
yeah. And I think it
I guess you just have to go from where you are at that point, don't you?
Yeah, and I think that's it. To be honest, the IVF is quite complex and there's so many different protocols and different ways in which they can do it, and you know, whether you're going for IUI or, you know, there's lots of different variations.
So it's not always that, is what you're saying?
No, yeah, exactly. I think it and every clinic does things a little bit differently. They're constantly evolving it and changing it as the technology changes. So yeah, so I think and everyone responds differently. Like, and you know, that's kind of what one of my big, I guess, focuses is that everyone, regardless of what journey you're on, whether it's fertility or any kind of hormonal health, you're on Google, right? You're searching for best supplement for this. How do I do this? How do I fall pregnant? What, you know, you're on chat forums and you try and copy what someone else has done and it just doesn't work. And it doesn't work because it's not right for you and for your body.
Everyone's an individual.
Yeah, everyone's an individual. Like, and I will see, like, I'll have clients that, you know, the main reason they're not falling pregnant is just because of stress. Their cortisol levels are too high.
Yeah. And this is an important point as well, is that hormones aren't just estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone.
No.
There's a lot. You know, I like to now use the term of hormones are the messengers. Because I feel like that's a good generalistic understanding of it's the chemicals which your brain uses to communicate with various parts of your body to make things happen.
Yeah, so when someone comes to me, you'll look at hormones to see like what are their estrogen, progesterone, all that. There's a range of hormones we'll look at to see what's going on. But that's the end result. You've got to then look at why. So if someone has low progesterone, why do they have low progesterone? Now that could be age, depending on where they're at, but also cortisol kind of sits at the top. And as soon as cortisol is out of whack, it then has this cascade of it on everything else. So to generally, if your cortisol is high, your progesterone then goes shy, as a like easy way to remember it. And that's not the case for everybody. It could be related to gut health. It could be, there's so many reasons. It could be your thyroid that's off. There could, you know, so you've always got to, if you look at your numbers or like where your hormone profile is at, you've then got to ask why. Why is it doing that? What else is going on in your body that's causing it to do that? And like,
question here. How do you actually test people's
I do a combination. So I'll always try and work with GPs to get blood work done initially. So I get varying responses depending on GP practices, but generally they'll be able to do a kind of basic hormone profile, as well as I'll always test hormones, I'll always test nutrients, because nutrient deficiencies can have a huge impact on hormones. So vitamin D, B12, folate, iron. So test all of those in blood work.
And so they can test all of those and they can give you results of all of those. Because the thing I've heard about, and I don't know, you'll know a lot more about this than I do, but when you go and just try and get your progesterone and estrogen levels tested with a GP, what they're actually testing for is not progesterone and estrogen, but the messenger hormones from your brain, which talk to your ovaries in order to produce those. So actually, it might not be 100% accurate, because like, this is my very loose layman's understanding, is there's two hormones which talk to your ovaries in order to produce those ones.
So
how does that all work? If you can just speak to that a little bit.
So I think blood work is so I do Dutch testing as well. Now, Dutch testing is a private test, which is a dried urine test, which, is not cheap. It's, starts at £230 for a Dutch test. But that looks at metabolites as well as the actual hormone. So it looks at what's passed through the whole system and comes out the other end. So it gives you a more accurate view of what is going on in the body.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of the JamJarGill podcast. It's been lovely to have you here. Conversation does continue, but it's behind my subscription in Substack, which is for less than the price of a cup of coffee a month. So I really hope that you will consider joining me in my membership, and you will get access to all the long form podcasts as I upload them, and they really are deep and meaningful and wonderful conversations. And also there's going to be community, there's going to be interactions, there's going to be opinion swapping and link swapping and tons more content coming your way. So please hit the subscribe button, and you can either pay annually or you can pay monthly and see what you think of it all. Take care, and thank you for being here.